At number 22, it's Connor Hellebuyck. Rupper coming off his second Vezina Trophy in the last 5 years. There was a lot of talk in Winnipeg going into last season if Hellebuyck would be the guy to stay put long term.
Yeah.
Well, guess what? Signed that 7-year deal, and he is living up to every penny of that big ticket.
It kind of shocked a lot of people, right? Like, I was shocked. It came right before the season starts there, and he was awesome this past season. The Winnipeg Jets were the best defensive team in the league, and you have to assume that a lot of those numbers, they coincide with one another. Connor Hellebuyck's play and the defensive structure in front of him, but I thought he was fantastic, and it's crazy, too, the amount. He's a throwback in some ways because the amount of games he plays, right? He's gotten over 60 starts in 3 straight seasons. Like, that's kind of unheard of, right?
Yeah,
like,
we don't see that anymore.
Yeah, it's very unique. So I think it's really important that they play a defensive style to maybe shelter him a little bit as far as his wear and tear. But man, this guy, and I'm so excited for the Four Nations.
Oh, I know.
Team USA, let's
They're
go.
loaded at that
at the goalie
too.
position. I would have to assume that Connor Hellebuyck would be the guy. Obviously, this next season's going to depend a lot on that.
Yeah.
But I thought he was fantastic this past year.
I want to go back to that workhorse, workload type category with this guy because we don't see that a lot. Although you come playoff time and his numbers took a bit of a dip. Do you think that correlates, or is this guy programmed differently? You're just not going to change that?
I never played the position, but I don't like making excuses. I don't think it had anything to do with it. I don't know. You'd have to talk to Connor Hellebuyck. He also played against this Avs team. That was a pretty squirrely kind of first round where lots of goals were happening. And sometimes you just get that in the playoffs. You let your guard down, you start playing a little out of sorts and not the way you're used to playing. I think both teams did that. I think it was a one-off. And the one thing with Connor Hellebuyck, though, is he's very focused, he's driven, and I'm interested to see how he rebounds this year because this Winnipeg Jets team, I thought they surprised a lot last year. They had stretches of that year where they're flirting with the top record in the West.
Yep.
So this team, with their defensive structure, I think can get back to that level.
I know you didn't play the position, but we talked about Vasilevsky, the big cat, the reflexes and stuff. When you think Connor Hellebuyck and his style, how does that come out? How do you describe him?
Well, I would say their styles are a little bit different, but he's the next best of that stretch of over this number of years. Vasi's been kind of that trendsetter, the guy, the pole leader, whatever you want to call it. Connor Hellebuyck's the next one. I don't think it's very close with some of the other guys as far as how long he's been great. But, Helly's he's got good size. When he's at his best, I mean, he certainly competes, but I don't feel like he's ever flopping around. Like, he's not getting all out of position. I mean, Connor Hellebuyck, he's a model of consistency in my mind, and you need that when you're going to start 60-plus games.
When we were talking about that contract and whether or not he was going to be there, it felt like a surprise that he actually stayed long term. What do you make of the window in Winnipeg with this guy between the pipes?
It's tough because this Jets team, you look over his career there, I mean, they've had some years where you're thinking this is the Winnipeg Jets year. And it always seems like something happens, right? They've had players, they've restructured their D core immensely. They've had players leave, players come. They always make big moves. I just think this is a team that they're just who they are. You're going to have to deal with them. It's a tough out going into Winnipeg and playing. And a lot of that's due to this guy because you're going to go against this team and a lot of times a hostile environment. I remember playing up there in Winnipeg, but you've also got one of the league's best goalies. So they're going to shut you down. The team's not going to give you many looks. But, Connor Hellebuyck's going to be there to back up any ones they do give you. And I think that gives this team a chance. I mean, they're going to be, in my mind, every year, they're going to be a top 5 team in the West.
In the combo.
Now, the playoffs is what matters. And they haven't gotten it done there. We'll see if they can this year.